always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hey guys, and welcome to GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Cynthia. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you all are having a very strong and pleasant start to your week. And I hope you all had a very productive weekend as well, or a fun one, or a chill one, whatever the vibe was for you. Mine was definitely jam-packed. We did a pre-birthday celebration for my older sister. She is going to be turning 26, and we went to Napa Valley. So for those of you who don't know, Napa is the place to go wine tasting here in California. So we were over at Napa for my sister's birthday celebrations over the weekend. And you guys, I'm not a wine drinker. I don't even like the taste of alcohol. So this was a struggle for me, but I had to do it because I had to honor my sister and her birthday, and that's what she wanted to do. But who else out there gets tipsy off one drink, one glass of wine? Because I'm that person. I was like, what is going on? So I definitely couldn't hang. But nonetheless, I had a great time. All my family members went. And yeah, that was pretty much what I did over the weekend. Not that any of you guys are super interested, but if you are, there it is. That's what I did. And let's get into what we're here to cover today. We have a lot, per usual, because there's always things going on in the entertainment world, in the entertainment industry. It's just so crazy, and there's always conflict and drama, but that's why we're so drawn to it, right? Let's get into it. First and foremost, we need to talk about this Latin superstar, Bad Bunny. For those of you who are not aware of who Bad Bunny is, never heard of him, don't know who I'm talking about, he is a Puerto Rican superstar. He is like on top of the world right now. He just dropped an album. He's been in the game for a minute. So a little background info about him, so you guys have some context to follow up with me. So this Latin superstar, he was nominated for a very impressive number of 14 Billboard Latin Music Awards this year. And he stopped over at E's Daily Pop this past Monday to talk about his new album, activism, and so much more, which we will be covering on this first segment. So I'm kind of going to join all of those things in this first segment. We're going to talk about Bad Bunny, where his stage name comes from. We're going to talk a little bit about his album. We're going to talk about some of his activism and things of that sort. So I'm going to kind of cram a lot of info in this first segment. So I hope you guys are able to keep up and listen up with me. So let's first talk about the origin of his stage name, Bad Bunny. He just revealed the adorable origin of his stage name that comes from a picture when he was a kid. He even says that he thinks he was about 6 years old. He was at the Tonight Show, by the way. So he was a guest at the Tonight Show, and they asked him how this name came about. How did he brainstorm it? So it all goes back when he was 6 years old, and it was he was showing pictures for all the audience members to see, and he's showing this precious picture of himself in like a white bunny costume, and he said, "I was so mad. That was Easter day in the school, and the teacher picked me to dress up." He said this in Spanish, but I'm translating in English so you guys are able to follow. But yes, I just thought it was really cute how his stage name goes all the way back to when he was a baby Bad Bunny, right? And from a terrible day at school, which happened to be on Easter, and he's wearing this white bunny costume and he doesn't want to wear it. So I just thought that was super sweet, and that he shared that story. I always like learning about artists and, you know, just famous people in general, how they come up with their stage names, because half more than half of the people that we know in the industry, like those aren't even their, real names. So I always like learning about the origin of their stage names. How did they come up with that name? Like, what would your guys' stage name be? I don't know what mine would be. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Like, I feel like I have to really be in this, like in the zone, really think about it, brainstorm. But anyway, so that's how Bad Bunny came into play. And we need to talk about Bad Bunny's latest look at his recent Tonight Show performance. He definitely made a statement in all the right ways with his clothing. And he's never been shy about sending a message with the way he dresses. I mean, if you know who Bad Bunny is, you follow him, he is a Latino man. He wears nail polish, earrings, sometimes skirts, like dresses in pink. I mean, he is all out there when it comes to his fashion, and I love it. I mean, like I said, he's not shy about sending a message with the way he dresses, especially when it comes to upending age-old conventions surrounding the way a straight man should present himself. And not only a straight man, he may actually be like gender fluid, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can correct me in the comments. But not only does he, kind of break those stereotypes of our old conventional ways of how men should present themselves, but especially for a Latino man to be doing that. For those of you who aren't aware with the Latino culture, there's this term called machismo. And that pretty much just means like very macho. Latin culture tends to be that way, where men shouldn't cry. That's what men are taught their whole lives in Latin culture. Men shouldn't cry. Men shouldn't be sensitive, shouldn't be vulnerable, shouldn't talk in this manner, or shouldn't wear pink, or whatever the dumb conventional old ways are. So Bad Bunny completely breaks those, and I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to him, gravitate towards him, and to his music, because not only does his music slap, okay, but it's inclusive, it's for everybody, and he truly stands by that. So I know I kind of went on like a little tangent right now, so let's go back to the way he dressed for the Tonight Show. So while he was performing his newest single, Ignorantes, means ignorant, Bad Bunny rocked an oversized pink double-breasted blazer and a heavily pleated black kilt, dropping the former off his shoulders towards the end of his performance to reveal a simple graphic tee underneath. And in that graphic tee, Bad Bunny's shirt read, and I'm going to first say it in Spanish, then translate. So his shirt said, "Mataron a Alexa, no a un hombre con falda." So in English, that means they killed Alexa, not a man in a skirt. And this is to reference and to honor a trans woman who was shot dead in his native country of Puerto Rico earlier this week. And the police report that misgendered her as a man dressed in a black skirt. So it's a very unfortunate situation that, this community of people are still treated this way and are not respected. And like I said, especially in Latino culture, it's not accepted to this day. Again, it's an unfortunate situation, but Bad Bunny always, I love that he just like sheds light on the situation, and especially with his gender fluid style. I feel like he's like the perfect person to shed light on this situation, and I love how he honors her. Her full name was Alexa Negron Luciano, again, a transgender woman who was killed in his home of Puerto Rico. So he just tends to like show his little way of showing, his activism through his performance. And like I said, he wore a black kilt on live TV. And I just think it's very commendable what he's doing, the stereotypes he's breaking, especially in the Latin culture. So I just applaud him. And like I said, his music slaps. So I'm a fan. And let's get into his new album very quickly. So he just dropped a new album, a highly anticipated album. And I'm going to first like spell it out for you guys because it like kind of doesn't make sense. It's just a bunch of letters grouped together. So his album title is YHLQSMT DLG, all in capitalized letters. The meaning of his album title in English, translated in English, is I can do whatever I want. So really what that says, the YHLQSMDLG, in Spanish, how you would say is, yo hago lo que se me dé la gana. And in English, that means I could do whatever I want. So that's the name of his album title in English. And he says that's exactly how he feels at the moment in his life, in his music, that he can do whatever he wants. He's a free human being, free soul. And I mean, it's the name and tell. He could do whatever he wants, whatever he pleases. It's his life. And the only person that he needs to focus on, you know, making sure is happy is himself. And like I said, I feel like this his whole message and brand is being like, he really tries to tell everyone to be yourselves. And that's why he, you know, dresses in gender fluid clothing. And I just really love that about him. And I'm like such a fan of Bad Bunny. Let me know in the comments if you are as well. And we're going to cut into our first break right now. When we come back, I'm going to share with you guys things you never knew about the iconic, legendary movie, The Devil Wears Prada.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hello and welcome back to GSMC Entertainment Podcast. Right before the previous segment, I shared with you guys I'm going to be talking about things you never knew about The Devil Wears Prada. So I'm going to be sharing some interesting facts about this iconic movie. To this day, it is still one of my favorite movies, hands down. There's so many memorable quotes. I'm a huge fan of Meryl Streep. I mean, who isn't? That woman does not age, okay? Anne Hathaway as well. I mean, I'm just like in love with the cast, in love with the concept of the film. So I think I'm going to watch that movie when I get home later tonight, because just talking about it, like I need to watch it and relive some of the best moments from that movie. So many of these were super surprising to me as well. I love kind of digging deep and finding out quirky little things about movies that were made, interesting trivia facts and things of that sort. I like knowing the behind the scenes of how movies are made. What was the process like? Was it strenuous? Was it smooth? How many days did it take to shoot? All of that good stuff. And we're going to cover it all right now. So don't go anywhere. And did you guys know it's been 11 years actually since the premiere of The Devil Wears Prada, and fans like myself are still finding opportunities to recite some of the iconic quotes any chance that we get. And one of those being, let me see if I can remember one. Florals for spring, groundbreaking. Let me know if you guys caught that. Did you guys just catch my little iconic quote I just said right now? It's from the movie, okay? But all right, let's get into some things you never knew about the making of the film. So for starters, the movie is based on a true story, for those of you who are not aware, like myself. Actually, I'm not aware of like any of these things I'm about to mention, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I knew anything. Anyway, the movie is based on a true story. It's actually based on a book written by Lauren Weisberger, which she was the former assistant to the editor-in-chief of Vogue, Anna Wintour. So based on a true story, people. Next, studios fought over the rights to the book. So before the book even hit the shelves back in 2003, many studios were fighting over their rights to turn this book into a film. They only had at the time 100 pages to go off of, but the studios were so confident in the book's premise. So Fox's former president, Carla Hacken, told Variety, "I was the first person to read it at Fox 2000. I thought Miranda Presley was one of the greatest villains ever. I remember we aggressively went in and scooped it up." So everybody wanted a piece of this movie, and I can see why, because again, when you think about it, what other iconic movies are so successful that dive into the fashion world, the magazine world? Like, it's a pretty unique concept, and there's not that many movies based off, this theme. So I'm not surprised that many people wanted to partake in this project and turn the book into a movie. Next, interesting little fact. It took 4 writers to get the screenplay right. So at first, they tried to adapt the film or the movie straight from the book, going through 4 writers trying to do so. Then they realized they needed to manipulate the story for the movie. And Carla Hacken says in a statement, "If you study the book, there isn't a strong narrative that propels the plot forward. That required quite a bit of invention and trial and error. And since there wasn't a strong third act in the book, we needed to invent that." And the third act is the assistant. So remember, we have Miranda Priestley, which is is Meryl Streep. Then we have Anne Hathaway as Andy. And then, do you guys remember, have you seen the movie The Assistant, who used to be Miranda Priestley's right hand, her go-to, but it was Andy's competition? That's that third act. So they totally invented that third role, that third character, which I think that definitely added an extra layer, another depth to the movie. So congratulations to those 4 writers, because it turned out extremely well. Next interesting fact about The Devil Wears Prada. Casting Miranda's kids from the movie was an extremely difficult task. So the casting crew went through hundreds of twins before they found the right pair for the roles. So for those of you who don't remember the movie, in the movie, Miranda had a set of twins. And I always think about that, how do they really go and find, I feel like that'd be hard to do, finding twins that are good actors and that are children. I already think about that, when I see kids in movies or TV shows and they can act so well. How are they able to do that? Remember the lines at a 6-year-old remembering the lines perfectly, or crying on demand. I would not be able to do that. I mean, I already don't have the best memory, so I applaud those children who are able to do so. So that was another little interesting thing I wanted to share with you guys. Next, Thomas Lennon was originally offered the role of Nigel. So again, Nigel was Andy's friend in the movie. But Thomas Lennon had to turn down that role due to conflicts with filming Reno 9/11. Filming was at the same time. I feel like Thomas Lennon would have been perfect for this role of Nigel. He is so animated, so funny and witty. He would have been perfect for Nigel. But that's not to say that I'm still happy with Stanley Tucci playing Nigel in The Devil Wears Prada, but Thomas Lennon would have been a great for that role as well. And speaking of Stanley Tucci, he accepted the offer to play Nigel 72 hours before stepping on set. So for months, the team, the casting crew struggled to find an actor fit to play Nigel. And at the very last minute, they came across Stanley Tucci, and he was on set playing Nigel only 72 hours after his audition. So right away, I don't know if they were desperate or what. Again, that's no shade. I'm just stating facts here. But they right away, they got him into this on set, filming. So after 72 hours, because I've heard sometimes after auditions, they don't call you back for a week. So 72 hours is not that bad. Next interesting fact. Meryl Streep refused to play the role as the iconic Miranda Priestley unless they raised her salary. Yes, girl. Okay, she's over here. She knows her worth and she's demanding it. So I'm going to share with you guys a quote that I want to like mix both of her personas together, like her real identity with the Devil Wears Prada identity. So I'm sorry if I get Miranda and Meryl mixed up. Meryl Streep shared in a statement, "The offer was to my mind slightly, if not insulting, not perhaps reflective of my actual value to the project. There was my goodbye moment, and then they doubled my offer. I was 55 and I had just learned at a very late date how I deal on my own behalf." Yes, girl, I love it. She knows her worth. She's getting that money, securing the bag. So I love that. And the fact that she's 55, well, at the time, 55, like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, this woman does not age, and especially in the Devil Wears Prada, she does not look 55. So that statement right there just made me so happy because I'm like, okay, well, she's over here demanding a salary. She's probably already making hella figures. And she's like, no, I need more. I love it. Next. So before this role, Anne Hathaway had only starred in children's films, which I failed to realize until I read this, but it's absolutely true. So prior to The Devil Wears Prada, Anne Hathaway starred in Ella Enchanted and The Princess Diaries, another iconic movie. And this role specifically with The Devil Wears Prada helped to shift the direction of her career to more mature films, adult films. And when I mean adult films, I don't mean porn, okay? I know that came out kind of wrong, but like, just more mature audience. So I thought that was pretty interesting because I didn't realize she was only in kids movies. Next, the team originally wanted Rachel McAdams to play Andy. So Andy, again, that was Anne Hathaway's position. So that was between Anne Hathaway and Rachel McAdams. Following her major success in The Notebook and Mean Girls, the casting crew pushed hard for Rachel McAdams, but she turned them down, saying that she wanted to take a break from quote-unquote mainstream material. I mean, I don't really know what qualifies as a mainstream material. Like, is The Devil Wears Prada mainstream? I don't know, maybe. But I feel like Rachel McAdams turned on a really huge opportunity, and Anne Hathaway got all the shine and glory. So that's an L for Rachel McAdams. Next, to prepare for the role as Andy, Anne Hathaway volunteered as an assistant, like a real-life assistant. She felt that she needed that real experience as an assistant to get into her character as Andy for the movie. So Anne Hathaway, she volunteered at an auction house, which I've heard of a lot of actors doing this to kind of get into more character, get in the mood, into the swing of things for their role. Next, this was, in this movie, the third time Anne Hathaway's character's best friend in a film was named Lily. So if we backtrack to movies like Ella Enchanted and The Princess Diaries, Anne's best friends or her characters in those movies were also named Lily. I always think about this, like, who does the stats for each movie, for each actor, actress, and their career? Like, do you think about that? Like, who was keeping track of, like, okay, let's keep track of how many of Anne's characters' best friends are named Lily. Like, this is like sports. I think about this. It's actual, like, how people in the sports industry take stats of the players and the teams. Like, this is what people do for films and actors and actresses and directors and producers and writers. Like, that's actually crazy to me. And I just realized that right now, like, who thinks of these things? Who takes notes of these things? It's so just wild to me. But that's just to, that lets me know there's a job for everything, which is kind of crazy. All right. Another interesting little fact about The Devil Wears Prada. The directors say it took many takes to complete the coat montage. So remember the montage of Miranda Priestley slamming her coats down on Andy's desk every time, you know? They said it was a hard day for Meryl Streep. The director recalls there were probably 30 takes where either her arm got stuck or the coat didn't hit the desk at the right time. And the director said that was one of the funniest things that he had ever witnessed, was Meryl Streep trying to slam all these coats and just not getting the right angle or not hitting the right time or getting caught her arm. So I thought that was pretty comical as well. And we have a lot, you guys. Like, there are so many interesting facts about this film. So like I said, I hope you're going to keep up with me. So the team struggled to find an apartment in Manhattan to use. I don't know why I said that so weird. Manhattan to use as the set of Miranda's home. So it was a struggle to find a place to film. Ultimately, the townhouse that was used as Miranda Priestley's home in the movie belonged to a friend of the producer. But if it wasn't for that friend of the producer, they would have had no filming location for New York or for her apartment. I mean, it's New York, you feel me? Like, everything's overcrowded. There's like people living on top of people, similar to the Bay Area. I'm not surprised. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cut into another very brief break. When we come back, I'm going to share with you guys a few more interesting statistics about the Devil Wears Prada, and we'll move on to an entirely different subject. So we'll be back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey guys, and welcome back to GSMC Entertainment Podcast. Moving right into what we're here to talk about. Frankel, which he is the director of The Devil Wears Prada, Frankel worried their budget wouldn't allow them to shoot in Paris. For those of you who don't know, there's a scene towards the end of the movie that shoots in Paris. And it was kind of shocking to me to find out, or for me to find out, that the production of the movie had very little money to work with, and in a moment of true desperation, the directors and producers sent Fox a sizzle reel to convince them to fund the trip. And thankfully, it was met with positive response, and they were able to fly to Paris. Another interesting fact regarding, their low budget, not having a lot of money or the budget being low for the movie. Meryl Streep actually didn't shoot in Paris. So while Anne Hathaway and Simon Baker flew out to Paris, and I thought that was pretty comical, Fox thought it would be too expensive to fly Meryl Streep out. So all of her Paris scenes were actually filmed in the U.S., which I thought was so funny because earlier I mentioned how Meryl Streep told them, I'm not playing in your little movie if you're not paying me more money. Like, I'm trying to see more zeros, okay? And they didn't fly her out because they're like, she's too expensive. Like, I'm trying to get to that level. I'm trying to get to that Meryl Streep level where people think, like, she's expensive. I don't know, but I want to be flown out like that. And she didn't get flown out. So I just thought it was pretty funny that Fox thought she would be too expensive to fly out. So they said, we're going to keep you in the U.S. and we're going to fly the cheaper ones out to Paris. So I don't know. In this case, maybe I want to be one of the cheaper ones and be flown out. Next interesting fact about the movie. The cost of the costumes was $1 million. $1 million, you guys, their costumes. Patricia Field, who designed all the outfits and all the pieces, came from major designers like Valentino and so on. And speaking of Valentino, he actually was the only designer who made an appearance in the movie, which is kind of hard also to believe because the whole movie is based off designers and fashion. Here's why, though. While the characters in the movie wore pieces from many other designers in the film, Valentino was the only one to show up. Apparently, there was some speculation that editor-in-chief of Vogue, Anna Wintour, threatened to ban any designers who made an appearance from being featured in the pages of Vogue. Again, this is all speculation, but that would be so messed up if she told all these designers from Louis, Gucci, Prada, and so on, if you make an appearance in that little movie, you're not going to be featured in Vogue. So maybe Valentino was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to show up. I don't know how that really went down, but this is all speculation. Next, okay, we're almost done with these fun little, there's so many, you guys. When I was looking up interesting facts about the movie, there were over 50. And I really only chose 20, but these are 20 interesting facts. Next, Meryl Streep didn't try to impersonate Anna Wintour in The Devil Wears Prada, but rather she tried to impersonate Clint Eastwood, you guys. Totally out of the ballpark. Not even the same, industry in terms of fashion, the whole movie is based off based on a true story of Anna Wintour and her assistant, and you would assume Meryl Streep is trying to impersonate Anna Wintour, but she's not. She's trying to impersonate Clint Eastwood. If you guys remember in The Devil Wears Prada, Meryl Streep she's not yelling, she's not screaming. When we think of terrible bosses, we think of those types of terrible bosses who are in your face and are aggressive and loud. And Meryl Streep was the complete opposite, which I think made her role even more brilliant. She says that she got her voice from Clint Eastwood and because he never ever raised his voice and everyone would have to lean in to listen and he would automatically become the most powerful person in the room. So that was kind of where her head was at. And she totally nailed it because in the whole movie, she just kind of gives you the death stare, the death glare, and you just know, shut up, Last but not least, final fact about the movie. The Devil Wears Prada earned almost 8 times what it cost to make. So despite the production team working with an extremely low budget, $41 million to be exact, which is low for movies, it went on to earn around $326 million in box office sales. So it more than tripled their income. Or not their income, but the money they made back. So who ended up winning at the end? The Devil Wears Prada, the production team. So all in all, let me know in the comments if you are a fan of The Devil Wears Prada. Again, one of the most iconic movies with an amazing cast, Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep. And moving on to an entirely different subject, Megan Thee Stallion, okay? There have been tweets going on, hashtags going on, hashtag free the stallion, hashtag free Meg, and this is why. Megan Thee Stallion claims that record label, her past record label, 1501 Certified Entertainment, is preventing her from releasing new music. She legally cannot drop new music because of this binding contract she has with her past record label. She briefly spoke on the matter in an Instagram live session yesterday, and at one point she said that she didn't understand what was in her contract when she initially signed with the label, which, by the way, she signed at the very young age of 20. Like, who really understands a contract at the age of 20? And she stated that certain details didn't become clear to her until she signed with Jay-Z's label, Roc Nation. She then claims that when she asked to renegotiate her contract with 1501, the label would not allow it. She said as soon as she said the magic word renegotiate, everything went left, things went bad. And she expressed her frustration on Instagram Live saying, you know, it's a greedy game. People just care about money. It's not about the music. And she says that's definitely not this is definitely not the first time we hear about artists, you know, being scammed or being exploited or whatever the case may be. We always hear of these labels, you know, holding their music and not being able to release their own music. And this is a shame because you know what? We need the music. The people needs the music. Hot Girl Summer is right around the corner and we need new music for our hot girl activities, okay? Megan just revealed a few days ago too that her next album titled Sugar, or Sugar as it says, was aiming for a release date of May 2nd, which is due to her being her late mother's birthday. But now it seems like that drop date will be pushed back and we don't know when. She doesn't even know when, okay? Because again, 1501 Certified Entertainment is not willing to renegotiate her contract. And this is a common problem that we see and hear about way too often within the music industry. They deliberately use insanely complicated and ambiguous language to mislead artists. None of us have seen this contract to really comment fairly on the subject. But again, one thing we've seen time and time again is that when you combine a young artist and a need, the likelihood of signing an exploitive deal becomes immensely more likely. And I feel like that's exactly what could have happened in Megan's case. Like I said, she's a young artist who can actually rap and has amazing talent. And she was 20 when she signed the contract. Like, how many of us, we don't even know what's in our AT&T contract. We don't even know what's in our Comcast contract, okay? So we cannot be judging her saying, you didn't read the terms correctly. Like, we don't even read the own terms correctly. I don't even read all the terms correctly. Like, half the time we're signing our lives away and we don't even know it. You feel me? So it's an unfortunate situation because we need new music. I love Megan Thee Stallion. I'm a huge fan of hers. And every time she releases new music, it's a banger. I love it. And so she gave us an update. If we don't hear any new music from Megan Thee Stallion, we know why. They're literally not letting her drop new music, which is a shame because we need it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up today's convo here at the GSMC Entertainment Podcast. We covered Megan Thee Stallion, interesting facts about the Devil Wears Prada, Bad Bunny and his activism and new music, new album. So we covered so much today. If you liked what I had to say, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. And I wish you all a very happy and successful week.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.